Hello everyone, welcome to the online class series organized by Government College Malappuram. In the part 1, we have already discussed the environmental pollution and water pollution and different types of water pollutions, that is water pollution by sewage, water pollution by industrial effluents, water pollution by soaps and detergent. Here the continuation of that topic, now the water pollution by pesticides. Pesticides are the substance used to kill pests or other weeds. There are different types of pesticides, insecticides used to kill insects, rodenticides used to kill rodents, that is rats or mice. Then fungicides used to kill fungi, herbicides used to kill plants, etc. Then, what are the sources of pesticide pollution in water? It is mainly from agricultural runoff, industrial effluents and deposition from air, and by direct spray on water surface to kill mosquitoes and other weeds. Then, what are the adverse effects? The pesticides are persistent in water. They are persistent pollutants. Once they enter into aquatic system, they remain in water persistently. By the process of biomagnification, they enter into food chain. The presence of pesticide residue increases in concentration through the food chain. In the larger organisms, the concentration is maximum. In almost cases, man is the topmost position in the food chain. So, pesticides are very harmful to all terrestrial, aquatic animals and plants. Then, pesticides are different types chemically. Organochlorine pesticides, for example, DDT, BHC. Organophosphate pesticides, malathion, parathion, etc. The carbamate pesticide, furidan. The pyrethroids pesticides, bagan, etc. The organochlorine pesticides affect the central nervous system, whereas the others affect reproductive and circulatory system. It can cause a variety of diseases, cancer, leukemia, it damages brain, kidney, liver, etc. The excessive concentration of organochlorine pesticides result in hormonal imbalance, cancer, leukemia, etc. The organophosphate pesticides results in damage to the nervous system. It disturbs the transmission of nerve impulses, causing unconditioned tremors, spasms, paralysis, etc. It leads to sterility. Higher concentration of pesticides in pregnant women leads to stillbirth, abortions and infant deformities. Pesticides also cause damage to kidney, liver, etc. In higher doses, it causes death. Several types of fish, birds, aquatic birds have been wiped out, or their population decreases due to the toxic effect of pesticides. We are well known about the endosulfan disaster in Kerala. Endosulfan, it's a organochlorine pesticide sprayed in the cashew plantation in the Kasaragod district. Started in 1978 and continued up to 2001. It has a tremendous diseases it causes and the human beings are suffered various diseases, physical deformities, cancer, epilepsy, cerebral palsy, etc. It also affects the biodiversity of that area. After 1 year spraying of endosulfan, the bees, butterflies, snakes are disappeared in that area. These are the adverse effects of a pesticide pollution. Then how to control? We have to minimize the use of pesticides and also use the biopesticide instead of that. This is the way of the control methods. The next one, water pollution by fertilizers. The modern methods of agriculture, the so-called green revolution, use immense quantities of fertilizer, nitrogenous fertilizer, potash fertilizer and phosphatic fertilizers. In most of the times, a large excess of fertilizer is being added than needed to the field. As a result, large excess of fertilizer is just run off into to the various freshwater bodies. Then, what are the adverse effects of a pesticide pollution? Mainly, there are two adverse effects: eutrophication and blue baby syndrome. Eutrophication. In a large measure, the pesticide pollution is the result of the concentration of phosphate and nitrate ions present in fertilizer. These ions make the water nutrient rich. That is, it favors algal growth. So, the massive algal bloom cover the water surface and reduces the dissolved oxygen. It leads to depletion of dissolved oxygen and it leads to destruction of aquatic organism. That is, the bloom infested water inhibit the growth of other aquatic life. It becomes a dead pool of water. That is the eutrophication. Eutrophication is the process in which it supports a dense plant population but inhibit the growth of animal life by depriving it of oxygen. Also, it creates an anaerobic condition, so produces a foul smell. This is called eutrophication. Then the next adverse effect is blue baby syndrome. When nitrate containing polluted water is consumed by humans, the nitrate is reduced to nitrite by intestinal bacteria. The nitrate formed cause serious problems. That is, it inhibits the oxygen binding capacity of blood, causing suffocation as well as respiratory and circulatory problems. Then, how to control fertilizer pollution? Control of water pollution by fertilizers can be achieved through biofertilizers. This involves efficient strains of microorganisms like Azobacter, Azospirillum or blue-green algae capable of converting atmospheric nitrogen to nitrate, or like a PSM capable of solubilizing phosphorus from the fixed form. They are cheaper, pollution free. But proper education, but the lack of proper education on farmers, lack of proper marketing techniques and distribution methods, biofertilizers are nowadays not common. we hope the biofertilizers can replace the chemical fertilizers in future. This is all about water pollution by fertilizer. Then water pollution by heavy metals. Heavy metals are the metals which have high densities, atomic weight or atomic number. Some heavy metals are essential nutrients, for example iron, cobalt, etc. Some others are harmless, gold, silver, etc. Some others are very poisonous, for example lead, mercury, cadmium, arsenic, etc. Here we discuss about the poisonous effect of lead, cadmium, mercury, arsenic, etc. What are the sources of a heavy metal pollution? Industrial effluents and agricultural runoff are the major sources for the heavy metal pollution. At first, lead pollution. The source of lead pollution is from the effluents from the industries like paint, battery, then metal plating, etc. Lead interact with the enzymes, the SH group of proteins, and denatured the proteins or break down the proteins. Lead is very toxic to all terrestrial and aquatic organisms. It is more acute in children than in adults. It accumulates in the bone at the time of stress or illness. It comes into the circulation of the body. It affects the central nervous system, kidney, brain, etc. These are the major adverse effects of lead pollution. The next heavy metal, mercury. Mercury has a tremendous effect to bioaccumulate in the form of methyl mercury. It is also again very toxic to all aquatic and terrestrial organisms. It is a carcinogenic. It causes irreversible brain damage. For example, in 1960 in Japan, thousands of people were dead due to irreversible brain damage in the Minamata Bay of Japan. The normally fish eating people of Minamata Bay of Japan is affected by an irreversible brain damage. In the effluents coming from a industry near the Minamata Bay is discharged into the river. This is the reason why they are affected mercury pollution. That is, mercury is bioaccumulated in the form of methyl mercury and cause irreversible brain damage. The next heavy metal, cadmium. Cadmium is also highly toxic metals. The major source for the cadmium pollution is the metal plating industry, jewelry works, etc. Cadmium also make various diseases. For example, the itai or ouch disease. This was first case reported in Japan in the Jinsu River. The bones made fragile. Thousands of people were died due to microfracture of bone, and thousands of people are affected by the disease. The disease was caused by consumption of cadmium ingested rice. That is, the Jinsu River was affected by the effluents from surrounding mines due to cadmium pollution. The itai disease is caused. Cadmium affect mainly liver, kidney, pancreas and thyroid in humans. it causes death in higher concentration. This is the cadmium pollution. The next heavy metal pollution is due to chromium. Chromium is also toxic to terrestrial as well as aquatic organism. Chromium affects the respiratory tract and causes respiratory tract cancer. The last one, arsenic. The source of arsenic pollution is due to lead arsenate pesticide. It affects the enzymes and denatured the enzymes. In lower level, it accumulates and causes cancers, and at higher level, it causes to death. This is all about heavy metal pollution. Here we learned the heavy metal pollution of lead, cadmium, mercury, chromium and arsenic. Here discussed the various types of water pollutions and then how to control the water pollution. We can precise. First method, to control the sewage pollution, it must be discharged firstly to sewage treatment plants before discharge into freshwater bodies. That is, sewage water should be treated in sewage treatment plants before discharge into freshwater bodies. Similarly, industrial effluents must be treated before discharged into freshwater bodies, and it must be discharged into outer sea. Non-biodegradable pesticides must be banned. The use of chemical fertilizer and pesticides must be minimized. We must use biofertilizers instead of chemical fertilizer. Also, we must use biopesticides instead of chemical pesticides. The sources of drinking water must be protected from the contaminants. The law must be enforced to dispose waste from shops, enterprises and industries. Soil pollution is the introduction of any factor or any contaminant to the soil which alter the quality and characteristics of the soil. A soil pollutant is a substance, agent or factor which alter the quality, characteristics, texture and mineral content of the soil. What are the sources of a soil pollution? Mainly the dumping of solid waste, dumping of plastics, leakage from fuel tanks, dumping of radioactive waste, then leakage from underground tanks, etc. These are the major sources of soil pollution. Then what are the adverse effects of soil pollution? It loses the soil nutrients, loses the soil fertility and a reduction in crop yield. The absorption of toxic materials by the crops grown on it leads to bioaccumulation and biomagnification. That is, the toxic materials are passed on to the consumers, which eventually leads to destruction of organisms. It forms a foul smell. The soil pollution creates a foul smell and formation of toxic gases and toxic dust. That is, the soil pollution also leads to air pollution. Then the leakage of underground tanks or rupture of underground tanks or fuel leakage leads to water pollution also. That is, the soil pollution affects not only the soil but also air and water. It also leads to soil increase in soil erodibility, soil salinity. The increase in soil salinity reaches the unfit for vegetation. These are the adverse effects of soil pollution. Then next we can come to the point, pollution due to plastics. Then plastics first introduced in 1907 with the invention of bakelite. It was a great boon as they brought about a great revolution in the preparation of a cheap and extremely useful material. But at the end of the 20th century, scientific world realized that they are persistent pollutants. They remained in the environment for many decades without any degradation. This creates many environmental problems. That is, plastic pollution means the accumulation of man-made plastic products which are not degraded and give adverse effects to the living beings and its surroundings. In most of the cases, the used plastics end up on landfill site where they create severe problems. Then what are the adverse effects of a plastics? Mainly, the degradability of the plastic is the major problem. The non-degradability of the plastic is the major problem, as they remain undegraded for many decades. So, the essential seepage of rainwater is prevented and thereby affect the groundwater and underground water levels. Secondly, the disposal method of plastics. Plastic defies any attempt to disposal, whether it is recycling or burning or landfilling. The recycling is uneconomical because the product formed is much of lower quality. In the case of burning, it produces dioxins, which is very toxic gases. In the case of landfilling, it is also dangerous because the essential seepage of rainwater prevented. Also, the leakage of contaminants pollute the underground and groundwaters. Another way of plastic pollution, in the plastics chemicals used for the plastic productions are extremely toxic. Also, the chemicals emitted during the plastic production, for example, ethylene oxides, benzene, xylene are also a very toxic substance. They are very harmful to living organisms. That is, plastic produces very harmful effects in the production process. Another adverse effect is that the plastic is mistaken as food by land and marine animals. They clog their intestine and slow starvation. Plastic waste cause the clogging of drainage system. The choked drains provide a better space for mosquitoes, better breeding space for mosquitoes. Also, this leads to flooding in the low-lying areas in the monsoon season. These are the adverse effects of a plastic pollution. Then how to control the plastic pollution? Mainly we can say that recycling the plastics, we have already told the recycling is uneconomical. Then the second method, the reuse the plastic. We can use the plastic bags again and again without throwing them away. Reuse the plastics. Then the third method is reduce the plastics. Reduce the plastics is used in plastics is replaced by cloth, jute, etc. The another important method for controlling the plastic pollution is the use of biodegradable plastics. Some plastics are biodegradable, so we can use that type of plastics. Thermal pollution refers to the undesirable effects arising due to the addition of heat to the water bodies. It is a kind of water pollution because the water of the water bodies that can be affected here. Thermal pollution causes no immediate health hazard to human beings, but it causes very serious problem to aquatic organisms. Then, what are the sources of a thermal pollution? Major source for the thermal pollution is the effluents from industrial area to the freshwater bodies. For example, the condenser cooling water from thermal power plants or nuclear power plants. How does this happen? In a thermal power plant or nuclear power plant, the steam is produced by boiling the water in a boiler by using fossil fuels or nuclear material. This steam drives the turbine and generate electricity. The spent steam leaving the turbine is condensed to water and returned to the boiler. The condensation is done by means of cooling using water. The water is pumped from near freshwater bodies. And after condensation, the heated water is returned to the freshwater bodies. By this process, at least a 15 degrees Celsius temperature increase is found in the freshwater bodies. In this way, thermal pollution originates. Then, what are the adverse effects of a thermal pollution? Do you know? A sudden temperature change or rapid temperature increase is not survived by aquatic organism. For example, tropical marine aquatic organisms can withstand only a very small temperature change, even 2 to 3 degrees Celsius. We have already learned that a 15 degrees Celsius temperature change is occurred in the freshwater body. So, most of the aquatic organisms cannot survive that temperature change. This is the major adverse effect of a thermal pollution. But some species can survive the warmer temperature and their population increases. That is, the biodiversity in the freshwater changes. Also, a sudden power plant shutdown or temporary shutdowns create a rapid temperature decrease. This also cannot withstand the survived aquatic species. So, leads to their death. The higher temperature of freshwater bodies leads to reduction in the dissolution of oxygen. That is, it leads to depletion of dissolved oxygen. Also, the higher temperature increases the rate of metabolic activities in aquatic organism. This again leads to depletion of dissolved oxygen. Depletion of dissolved oxygen leads to destruction of aquatic organism. The one long term effect of thermal pollution is the contribution to global warming. That is, it changes the climates in future. These are the adverse effect of a thermal pollution. Then, how to control thermal pollution? That is, the extra heat dissipated must be transferred into atmosphere either by evaporation or by transfer to the air, and this water can be used for condenser cooling or may be returned to water bodies. Mainly two methods have been used. Firstly, cooling pond method. Then here the warm water is allowed to fall on a large artificial pond. By the process of evaporation, the excess heat is dissipated and the cooled water is recycled for condenser cooling. The second method, cooling tower method. Here the warm water is sprayed downwards through on a vertical sheets and cooled in a cool tower, and the cooled air is passed upwards. The heat exchange takes place between water and air, and then the warm water is cooled into cooler. Then this cooled water is used for condenser cooling again. This is all about the thermal pollution. I think the topic is very helpful for 4th semester complementary chemistry course, 5th semester core chemistry students, and 5th semester open course environmental chemistry students. Thank you for watching.